Once you are done inverting, set the centrifuge to 8,000 times G for 5 minutes at 20 degrees Celsius. Place samples in and make sure to balance before pressing start. Once the 5 minutes is up, retrieve the samples and bring them back to the lab bench. You should see a pellet of DNA at the bottom on the hinge side of the test tube. You will now dump out the isopropanol into a waste container, being careful not to let that DNA pellet slide. When you dump out the ethanol or isopropanol, make sure to not fully invert the tube, but only enough to let it slide out. Now, using the 70% ethanol, add 400 microliters to each test tube. You should only need one pipette tip for this step as well. Once the ethanol has been added, invert the tubes 3 times to wash the DNA pellet, and then bring the samples to the centrifuge. Set the centrifuge to 16,000 times G for 5 minutes at 20 degrees Celsius. Add your samples, balance, and press start. Once the 5 minutes is up, carefully dump out the ethanol just like you did the isopropanol in the previous step. The DNA pellet should be more clear now, a big white dot. Make sure this pellet does not slide as you dump out the ethanol. If you get any ethanol on any test tubes with marker label, it may rub off the ink. Allow the test tube to dry and then relabel if necessary. Once all of the ethanol has been removed, you will repeat the previous 3 steps, starting with adding 400 microliters of 70% ethanol, inverting the tubes 3 times to wash the DNA pellet, centrifuging at 16,000 times G for 5 minutes, and then dumping the ethanol out again. Once all of the ethanol has been dumped out, you will remove any excess ethanol with a 100 microliter pipette. Do this for each test tube individually. using a new tip for each. The DNA should be on the hinge side of the test tube. Angle to the left and remove any ethanol pipetting on the opposite side of the hinge. Once all of the excess ethanol has been removed, bring the samples over to the speed vac. Turn the speed vac on and open the lid using the paper clip on the right and the small hole on the right side of the speed vac. Add your samples with the lids open. Make sure to keep it balanced. Avoid touching the inside of the lid or the top of the test tube by holding onto the side. Close the lid and turn the speed vac on. You should hear the vacuum pump activate. Set a timer for 4 minutes. Once the 4 minutes is up, turn the speed vac off, open the lid, and check each sample individually to make sure all ethanol has evaporated. If there is any ethanol still left, dry for another minute in the speed vac. Once all of the ethanol has been evaporated from every sample, grab the TE buffer and add 100 microliters of TE buffer to each sample. Bring the samples in their test tube rack to the fridge and leave there overnight. This will allow the DNA to rehydrate. Now you have completed the DNA extraction protocol. Make sure to clean up your lab bench before you leave and make sure all equipment has been turned off, including the water bath, centrifuge, incubator, and speed vac.